I
Okay.
think that is in BBC, and
Hmm.
they, wait, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, that is the BBC, and it read a report that UK don't deliberately
Yeah.
rig against ethnic minority.
Yeah.
All
That
right.
doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Okay, so place that against your description of your early childhood growing
Hmm.
up in
Hmm.
the UK. What would you say? What would be your reaction?
Okay. The English are very particular, and they have a very particular way of dealing with racism, which is that they don't. Yes, they just don't. The in terms of the debate or discussion over racism in this country, the institutions, like you say, you've spoken about the royalty, is also the media and education. Their discussion is racism is bad. Nobody should do it. That's it. End of conversation. It's a bad thing. None of us should do it. It's that. But the whole
That is very funny. No, it's like saying stealing is bad. Then let's sack the police. The police is not there, so it's on your own. You know whether you are going to steal or
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's very
Yeah,
funny.
but the problem is because Britain still holds on to empire. Obviously, it doesn't have its empire anymore. But real talk, psychologically, Britain still, especially the people the elites, the ruling classes, they still have the psychology, which is the psychology of white superiority, the psychology of dominance over other people. We have the right to go into black countries, African countries, Asian countries, without even asking. Yeah. So there's that arrogance. There's that white supremacy, and that empire. They still identify themselves through their history of empire. Now, what we do, the black population, the Asian population, is we say, okay, you had your empire. What was done during your empire? Atrocities, genocide, etc., etc., etc. They don't want to know that aspect of it. You understand? And so, if you bring that psychology into like today, one of the things, there was a report that came out, was it a year or 2 years ago? Big government report about institutional racism. And the government came to the conclusion that there is no such thing as institutional racism in Britain. There is no institutional racism, which is a denial of the blatantly obvious. Because when you look at all the indicators, okay, let's say black people in education, black people in employment, black people in terms of physical health, in terms of mental health. In the negatives, we top all of those. Yeah. I've as a music teacher, I've worked in mental health institutions, and we are disproportionately represented in mental health institutions. There's far more of us in there than the national average. We're top of the unemployment figures. Yeah, I think I can't remember specifically, but I think black adult males between 18 and 25 or 18 and 30, it's almost 50% unemployment, which is much, much higher than other groups. Now, all of these things cannot happen and happen consistently, because this is not a recent occurrence. My father, his generation, experienced it when they arrived. I experienced it during my lifetime. My son, who's in his early 30s, he's experiencing it. So when you have that kind of consistency over 3 generations, it is structural. It is built in. You understand? And
It's not a mistake at
it's
all.
not a mistake. It's
Just
actually,
because, just for the fact that some people decide to be ignorant of it, doesn't mean it's not
that's it.
there.
That's it. And it's a tactic. If I say to you, you know, it's what they call it, gaslighting. I don't know if you know that phrase. You tell me you have a problem, and I say, well, there's no problem, so the problem must be you. Do you understand? So the problem is me, because I'm feeling racism. The problem is not that, no, you're being a racist, or you've set up systems that keep some people down and elevate others. You know, no. That's got nothing to do with it. It's the problem is you. And that's major. You mentioned Meghan Markle, and you know she married a member of the royal family, and the reaction against her from within the royal family, from within the media, was visceral. It was visceral, and yeah, that kind of, you know, but by their actions shall they be known. And so when you see the actions of it, and she wasn't going in to burn down Buckingham Palace, you know what I mean? She was going to get married, and so yeah, it's like that. But right now, the last few years, we have a situation. It's called the involving what they call the Windrush generation. And I don't know if your viewers know, but the Windrush was post-Second World War, 1948. That was the start of migration, huge migration from the Caribbean. And one of the first ships to arrive was a ship called the Windrush, which arrived in London 1948. So that generation gets called the Windrush generation. And what this country's been doing, and they arrived here as British citizens, because at that time, the Caribbean was still under colonial rule. They arrived here as British citizens. And they lived here as British citizens 30, 40 years. But what the government has been doing is actually, so as a British citizen, they were told that there were certain papers that you don't need to have. You know, you're a citizen, you're a British citizen, come over, get, you know, find work, build a home, raise a family. And then the British government has been, had a deliberate policy of what they call creating a hostile environment for this Windrush generation. So what they've been doing is they would like call you, and they would like check you out. Well, where's your papers? Where are your immigration papers, what have you? And you say, well, I've been here 40 years. I've been working, I've been paying tax, everything. I don't need papers, because I didn't need papers to get in, because, you know, I had my Commonwealth passport, UK stamp, everything. And they've been deporting people. So it's now called the Windrush scandal. So there are people who have never been to, you know, came here 40, 50 years ago, have no real contact with the Caribbean since, because they've created a life here. And within 24 hours or 48 hours, they're placed in detention centers, and then put on a ship, put on a plane, and sent back to a land, an island that they know very little about. And it's been deemed illegal. Yes, it is what the government policy was illegal. It was against the law. Question: who's been punished for these actions? Answer: nobody. And you know, because of the generation that I'm speaking of, many of them are now. My mum's of that generation. She's in her 80s. So you're talking about the elders in our community. And I mean, I could spend half an hour talking about it, but it is horrific.